And welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters live from New York City. Let's hear you. I haven't heard you at all today. That's better. That's much better. That's much better. I heard that people from New York were very rowdy. Is that true? Yeah. No. Well, we want you to be rowdy. We want you to be loud. So it's all good. Cheer and shout as much as you like. We like that a lot. We are going to move on shortly to our third game of the day. And it's a big game because the winner will advance to the group stage, the round of 16 tomorrow. Let's just update you with a few of the scores so far. We've had the A bracket and the B bracket playing along. Let's take a look at A first of all. And as you can see, Snoot lost to San in the semi-finals, and Hack took down SWS. So that final, San versus Hack, will be the next game here on stage. They're going to fight out for a place in the round of 16. We also have the B bracket going on at the same time. So let's take a look at that one as well in just a moment. That one has seen some very good games so far. We're going to have Life versus Donray Gu after Donray Gu won 2-0 against Suppy and Life took down Puck. So unfortunately, New York, no Americans to cheer for. Boo. I know, it's really bad, isn't it? But we do have 4 extraordinary Koreans to cheer for. They are amongst the 4 best players in the world right now. So, before we get any further, let's get into our final game. Ladies and gentlemen, please a big noise for your players for the grand final. So, San and Hack will go head-to-head for their place in the round of 16. Here's your commentary team. Another new face to introduce you to. I'll let him tell you who he is. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your commentary team.
Well, thank you very much, Red Eye. Hello, Nathanius.
Hello, Paulo.
How are you doing?
I'm quite fine.
You New Yorker, you.
I'm loving it here. It's great.
I am also loving it. I've had a lot of fun in New York and happy to be casting alongside you once again. We worked together at DreamHack Summer not too long ago, and here we are in New York, different country, different state, different continent.
But still awesome games.
But still the same game here, StarCraft 2, and we're going to be jumping into, as Red Eye mentioned on stage, the first game that determines a player that will make it to the actual main tournament.
It's going to be a tough one, too. 2 Korean players really doing quite well, taking out pretty strong opponents, getting 2 here. San and Hack. Terran versus Protoss also. Yeah,
Terran versus Protoss. Not too many Terrans actually in this tournament,
nope.
So I know that you may be secretly cheering for Hack here.
Maybe.
Maybe. I know you do play Terran as well, Nathanius. But we'll see who's going to make it through, because San has been playing rather well at these tournaments. He's a player that you may not know as much, but a player that can beat anybody on a good day. He's already beaten Snoot out 2-0 just now, just before. And Hack is a player. For me, I've always looked at one of the stronger Terran players in StarTale. Obviously, you look at StarTale, you're like, all right, well, there is StarTale Bomber. Everybody knows that guy. But this guy is pretty good as well.
I mean, just being on the same team is good players like that also. I think San himself been able to get a good couple of matches recently in Season 2 of the Acer Team Story Cup, took out quite a few big Terran players from Team Axiom like Ryung and Hart, so he's a little bit, he's not necessarily any stranger to this matchup, so it's really nice to see these 2 guys coming together, and Hack, like you said, playing on the same team as Bomber, it's no small feat.
And as you can see right now, the map veto is currently going on. It's a best of 3, so the first player to get to 2 maps, and they're allowed to eliminate 2 maps each. Hack's chosen to get rid of Akalon Wastes, whereas we see San getting rid of Polar Knight and also Yonsu. So we do have one more eliminated from Hack there, Belshir Vestige, leaving us with Derelict Watcher, Frost, and Whirlwind. And now here's the map order that we're going to be playing on these.
Yeah, looks like we'll be kicking things off on the very large 4-player map Frost, Apollo, for this Terran versus Protoss. How do you feel about that?
I actually don't mind the maps at all, these 3 maps for this matchup. When I play Terran versus Protoss and the other way around, well, actually, the other way around is more difficult, I think, for Protoss. But I think these maps are okay here for Hack. I don't mind them at all.
Yeah, I think all of them pretty fair as far as the amount of space that goes for drops, anything along the lines of blink play, which is just becoming increasingly popular in the Protoss versus Terran matchup. So I'd say relatively even. I like it.
All right, well, we'll be jumping into this best of 3 now. As you just saw, the players do go to their booths, and we'll jump in and sort themselves out and get ready for this next game. Also, going on at the same time, we do have Donray Gu versus Life, which will determine the second player to definitely make it through to the main tournament, a $25,000 main tournament And also, not to forget, a WCS Tier 1 event as well.
Yeah, even the top 16 get into the prize money for this tournament. So every win, very significant. Just getting to that second group stage, 16 players right there. That ZVZ is going to be quite rough as well.
That's right. And of course, there are some other streams that you can go to on twitch.tv, since the MLG stream as well is covering also the other game. I think they'll be doing Donre Guvis' live now. But we're going to be getting the invites into this game. Do you have any favorites coming into this? I know that you may want the Terran player to win here in Hack, but do you think, though, that a player like San can beat out Hack or vice versa? What do you think?
Well, San, I think I actually kind of really like him. He plays with a lot of my Korean friends on the ladder. He's one of the NOS clan, very small practice community group. I've been able to obs a lot of games from him. He's a pretty funny guy. So, I mean, as far as the actual player personality goes, I got to cheer for San. But I gotta say, Apollo, there's so few Terrans in this tournament. It's never bad to see a few squeeze through.
That's right, and maybe this guy can do that. Having just got into the World Championship Series, I mean, it's good to see him play because this guy's been in Challenger a little bit in the last couple of seasons in the World Championship Series. He was a Code S player for a while in Korea, played in Code A as well. I had the pleasure to cast him in TSL 4 as well.
Yeah, it's going to be strong. I think we're actually getting a lot of invites now, so we can move into this game.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you have a favorite?
I really think that StarTale Hack here is going to prevail and win this. I think it'll be a 2-0 as well. I know San is actually very good when it comes to playing Protoss mirrors, and I know he's very good against Zerg as well. But for me, having watched his games in the past, I've seen him struggle against good Terran players, and that's exactly who Hack is. So for me going into this, definitely I feel Hack's a favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't necessarily disagree with your statement about the maps keeping things even. But I kind of wonder, looking at the maps that were taken out, I kind of like that he removed the maps with the really big drop plays. That's something that would be potentially seeing San. Is that one of his weaknesses if he gets rid of maps like Polar Knight, where the drop play is just so good, especially maps like Yonsu as well?
And here is San with his new team, by the way, a Taiwanese team. Yo Flash Wolves, if I said that right. Yo Flash Wolves is his new team here that he is playing for. And after leaving Azubu, which wasn't that long ago, I really expected him to be joining a different team. I thought he may even venture into a European team like My Insanity or something along those lines. But as you can see now, we've had both the players here. Hack playing for Team StarTale, 19 years of age, going up against San. It looks like there may be one issue here with Hack as the admin does go in to go have a look to see what's going on. But I'm quite excited for this one, as these players will join the likes of Flash, Curious, TLO. There's a lot of good players in the main tournament waiting for their chance to play tomorrow.
That's a very good point. It's not even just a matter of, this is a difficult match both of these have to play to get to that second group stage, but the players waiting for them quite strong. I think one of our other foreign hopes in this tournament, State, is in a group with Curious and Flash. Whoever goes into there is going to have quite a bit to deal with as well.
All right, well, there is San, still just getting ready for this next game. We'll be jumping into it momentarily. Here at the Insight Stream Masters New York City at Comic-Con. And I've had a lot of fun in New York so far, by the way.
Yeah, it was cool. We went to a pretty nice pizza place last night.
I went to a nice pizza place yesterday. I went out and met a couple of old friends from MLG on Tuesday night. Went out for a couple of drinks. And yesterday I walked all over the city, from downtown to Little Italy, to Chinatown, to the west side of Manhattan, down looking over to Liberty Island, down that way, and also back up to Midtown. I did a lot of walking out. My little English feet were a little bit tired.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because you look at it and you'd say, well, New York it's so compact you can walk anywhere, but there's a lot of walking to be done. There is.
Yes, and a lot of people walk here, so I'm told.
Yeah, you can almost walk to almost anywhere that you work here, but it looks like we're getting into this game now.
All right, let's get on to decide who moves into the main tournament, the top 16 tournament tomorrow.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, on the map that is Frost, spawning in the top left position as the red Protoss player. It is San, and I cannot pronounce that team name.
He's on the Wolves. He's on the Taiwanese Wolves.
Taiwanese Wolves. And his opponent, spawning in the bottom right position, the blue Terran player from Team StarTale, it is Hack.
All right, so these two players now face off in this best of 3 to determine who moves on and who has to go down to the loser bracket, or the lower bracket, should we say. But the map that we're currently playing on, it's 4 players. You can spawn in any corner of the map. And it is one of the bigger map pools alongside Whirlwind here that we have at the Intellect Stream Masters New York tournament.
Yeah, this is one of the maps brought in through the Team Liquid community poll. It's quite large. There's a few interesting features on the map. The hidden hallways in the north and south sides of it. There's and you know, the bases themselves are quite accessible to draw play as well as things like blink. So almost any strategy can be employed. Although the size you have to take into account if you're going to go for things like early pushes.
Yeah, and on a map this size, right? We are going to see builds focused around economy. So already we have Hack getting ready to take a command center first. It's a massive map. This is more fine to do. It's actually great to do. And on the other side, I wouldn't be surprised to see something similar from San, who actually, as we can see, has not decided to take a simulators. Just going to power away towards a much later one by the looks of it, but a much faster Nexus in return.
Yeah, mining that gas later, a little bit more time actually pulling the minerals, so quick Nexus. And also to consider that they did spawn cross-spawn, so they don't know that just yet, which means the scouting path's unlikely to find each other very quickly. So I kind of like this. It works out well for both players since neither of them have to worry about that aggression coming in, but with the openers that they've chosen, Apollo, which one do you think could get aggressive first if they decided to amp up for some 2-base play?
Absolutely the Terran player. Absolutely the Terran play here. It depends on how the scouting works out, because that's going to be the real decision, right, on how they play this game out. But I don't think San's going to be too aggressive in this game. I think he's going to play it very reactionary, play it very defensively, as defensively has become the key to winning in this matchup. Hack, though, if we don't see a fast third command center, because that is an option for him, considering he may scout his opponent out very early, but I think that we could see Hack being the first aggressor here.
Yeah, the SCV should cross the path of that probe. Does this give him any indication that maybe he didn't spawn in this area, Apollo?
No, I think it's very difficult to tell when exactly the probe's going to leave or not, because it can be at any random time, depending on the player.
Yeah, very good point. Putting a pylon on the right side of his base, so they're both going to find each other with that second scout, but we do not yet see the third barracks from the Terran player. He is getting the bunker. He'll have some level of defensive setup. What are the chances? This probe will come in, not able to confirm that command center,
and that's a little bit bad, to be honest. As a Protoss player, I think you're a little bit sad about that, because you don't really know what's going on exactly. And unfortunately, the Terran player will scout what you're doing. So I feel that Hack would just be at a natural advantage just to start this game up, since he'll be able to gather the information on what his opponent has, compared to, you know, San, who may not have got anything here.
Yeah, there's so many builds a Terran player can open with that'll just give you that fast Marine. But you know what he doesn't confirm is this Stargate now that's being produced for San. What kind of level of damage do you think he can do with the 2-base Stargate play?
Well, it depends on what he builds here, but I'm expecting an Oracle to come out here. I'd be very surprised to see anything else. Sometimes you can go Phoenix play, but if he decides to build an Oracle, then he will have to do damage with this. It's a big investment. To go for the Stargate means you're not going over to the robotics facility anytime soon. You're limiting yourself a little bit with the resources that you have so early on. He's going to need to do damage.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. There's also a couple of follow plays you can do, go into Phoenix to hold up any kind of drop play.
Look at this.
A Void Ray Apollo, very interesting choice here from
This
San.
is very surprising. I did not expect this at all to come out from him. And I'm not too sure how this is going to work. Of course, the Void Ray is slow. Oh, with Scan.
He sees it. He knows exactly what's coming now. So, I mean, he's making Marines. This is normally what you want to have against the Void Rays. He's even adding on the engineering bay just in case he'll have access to those turrets. I mean, aside from just maybe a bunker or a turret, Apollo, what does he need to hold up any level of aggression?
Well,
let's forget that.
I'm pretty sure he's going to be throwing a couple of turrets down in the mineral lines here, saying, all right, you've gone Stargate play. This is great news, especially because I've scouted it. A couple of turrets in the mirror lines, he's fine. He's got a lot of Marines out early, and you have to give the advantage to Hack in this position.
Yeah, switching to the Oracle, especially the missile turrets, will completely shut that down. Not too many players trying to go for Oracle busts off 2 bases behind this. He's getting the Forge. He'll have the option move into the upgrades. Of course, Sim is coming in the factory as well. That Oracle's making its way across the field. Did you see it at the tower?
I think he may have just floated past it. It was actually taken by the Stalker, so... this, and then the other one's contained by the probe, so... But I'm not expecting this Oracle to do anything, and then you have to question the Stargate tech choice, and then the Oracle with no damage dealt. You're simply playing from a behind scenario here. Your Forge is late, the Twilight Council's late.
Yeah, and the Oracle is going to come in now. There's enough Marines to hold this off. You only need about 6. Uses the Envision ability just so he can see at least. I guess you can see what's coming out of the barracks. You can see what's near them, but it's not that damage he wanted to do, as you had stated, Apollo. His scan went down. He did see that Twilight Council. The +1 armor is also on the way. We're seeing charge come into Templar Archives. What's the possibility of this going from something like a 2-base charge lot Archon timing into maybe just a 3rd with Storm?
I think if he was to go for a 2-base timing, it would be very bad. Simply because he's invested in the Stargate and Oracle, which have slowed him down already. So he needs to be playing a longer game here. And by the looks of this pro, we actually could see a hidden Nexus here. A gamble, maybe. Something hoping his opponent doesn't scout it and play defensively off 2-base while taking a hidden 3rd here. A risk move here from San. But if this was to go unscouted and undetected for a long time in this game, it could put him back into a decent position.
Yeah, especially considering that the third base you would normally take on this map is so exposed. There's so much area to hit it from. That can be quite vulnerable as well. Marine gets cleaned up, the spotting Marine. But no Nexus just yet for San. He does have a lot of resources, though, Apollo. He could build this at any possible moment.
By the way, look at Hack right now. He's taken us to the command center, but more importantly, he's added a tech lab onto the factory, and he started to research Blue Flame here. We're going to be seeing Hellbats in this game.
Yeah, you know, it's something that died off a little bit after the Hellbats were nerfed. You need that Blue Flame in order to 2-shot the workers, and also you need that Blue Flame to really help dig into those charge lots. They tank so well, even against the Hellbats without that upgrade. So with charge coming in, I think this army composition that San is going for, Hellbats kind of complement that pretty well.
Yeah, they're going to do really well against this, and simply because he was able to see the tech choice of his opponent so early on, the Stargate over to the Twilight Council. He knows exactly what he's playing against here, so this is a smart play coming out from Hack. His army's going to be very good against what we see from San, as you say.
Yeah, and he's finishing up a few more gateways. Still no 3rd Nexus, though. These Marines pick off the Zealot. He confirms that, you know, he has those medevacs. He can go for those drops. You see the first couple of Templar now being brought in. He can use those to feed back the medevacs, try to hold Hack away. But I think on a 2-base setup like this, as a Protoss, how easy is it going to be to take his 3rd now that the stim, now that the medevacs are on the field?
That's the big question now, isn't it? He's going to have a hard time, I think. Well, he may attempt it very soon. The army supply is in the lead for San, so he does have a lead when it comes to his army size for the time being. But if we look at the upgrades, you have +2 attack on the way for Hack with +1 armor as well.
Tries to chase down that Oracle in the center of the field. Another revelation used. Always nice being able to spot where the Terran army is. Even if those units get into the unmarked medevac, you can still see them. So it's a really nice way to keep track of those drops. And he's looking around the map trying to pick off the pylons, so preventing any possible counter War Prism harass. Although 3rd base now moving out for Hack, I don't think there's too much since he's cleaned these pylons up to really challenge that.
Yeah, this is the part of the game where we actually see Hack not being super aggressive with his small lead that he obtained early on. But he's building the best army to what he's going up against. He's adding on Hellbats, he's getting the Mobius Reactor ready for the Ghosts. And unfortunately, a little bit supply blocked here. Losing a couple of Marines and Marauders there as well. Couple of mistakes. Yeah,
nice force field pinching those units off. It's that field of view blocker that these bushes present that make it a little bit difficult. You step on the other side without knowing what's there. You get force fielded, and now hitting a few more in the center of the map. Those Zealots digging those units right into them. Barely any bio escape. That one medevac will try to bring its load to the main base, but here's this huge pressure. Hack immediately abandoning this 3rd.
I mean, I haven't been looking too closely on Hack here, but it's very weird for me to see him without a large army. For so long in this game, it's 30 minutes, and he simply just hasn't got a very large army here, being only around 16 Marines or so. He's invested into Ghosts and Hellbats at this point. You'd expect him to have more than this, you know, considering how the game started off early.
Yeah, it seemed like he invested a lot into the early Mobius Reactor for the Ghosts and getting those out quickly to deal with the storm, but now that transition into Colossus is coming with the Robotics Bay, a War Prism being produced. He's coming out here trying to bait some of these units in here, and despite having a smaller army, these Hellbats can still do a lot of damage with that Blue Flame upgrade.
And to be honest, he actually needs to start doing a bit of damage. San's been able to take his 3rd. He has the Robotics Bay on the way. He's got double Forges, and he's going to make the big switch to Colossus soon. And as of now, there's an opportunity for Hack to do well with the army that he's created. But as soon as you see Colossus come into this, without any Vikings, he could be in major trouble.
Yeah, it's the early Ghost. You only need a couple of EMPs, and it does look like he's trying to stay active on the field, throwing the scans down. He can see what's coming. Zealots hitting that 3rd base with a run by. A storm dropping on some of the units. Does manage to snipe off one of those, but nothing big yet, Apollo. And still, the Zealots being a big distraction towards that 3rd.
Yeah, it's been a very delicate game here. Nobody taking any big blows. The unit loss time's very small for both sides, hardly losing any resources yet. But we are now going to see Hack move out here. But with such a small army, it's not a large area to surface with storms.
And at the same time, he keeps bringing those Zealot run-bys. It pulls the Terran back, buying San more and more time to bolster his forces. There's still primarily charge lots here. The Archon does well versus the Hellbats, but it only takes 1 or 2 good storms, and not even Hellbats will save you from that force. He needs to be very careful. There's the scan, trying to keep an eye on where this army is, but I love that he keeps the Templar away from the main force so he can come in with a flank storm.
Well, those Marines aren't inside the bunker there. They're not going to be too useful in the defense.
Yeah, the Zealots get right on top of that mineral line. The Templar could actually try to storm the running away SCVs if it wanted to. Looks like we have a couple of medevacs headed towards the northwest side of the map at the same time. There's the storm. Not too many SCVs there. The Hellbats, not quite quick enough to catch up to those forces.
All right, it's time for Hack to do something in this game.
Here comes the drop into the main base. There's one Templar here, gets the feedback. That Hellbat is stuck, has a bit of a hard time reaching the Templar, but a couple warpins come in, and the drop really not doing too much, Apollo.
So far throughout all of this game, we've just seen San being the guy that's been harassing, tickling his opponent a little bit. But the army supply is very equal. Colossus now joining the field, but we do have Viking production starting very early on here. Already the Viking count's at 2 with 3 being made, so it's going to go up 4 being made. Going to go up to 6 very fast here. It may just come down to one decently good fight, depending on who has the better fight.
Yeah, especially now losing a few more units. Great feedback and storm. Only 1 medevac of units makes it away from there. And a lot of expensive units lost for the Terran player. You also brought up a great point earlier, is that Sans had this army size lead. And typically speaking, we see the Terran with those mules crank out those mineral heavy units so fast. The storm drop, though, coming in towards that third. Most of the SCVs getting destroyed. And this is not helping Hack's case for bringing that supply up.
He's lost 26 workers in this game. Sans taken a lead in supply. He's building a 4th Nexus before his opponent even has a 4th command center. Hack needs to do something soon. If he doesn't take a good fight and really destroy a lot of Protoss units, then this is going to really get out of control soon.
Now these Ghosts do have Cloak. One Storm whiffs a little bit. Now getting a little bit more of a spread on this army.
It's very weak. These Storms have done a lot of damage here.
Yeah, he throws down the skin. I think he sees that there's no observers with this force. Those Cloak Ghosts could find themselves doing a lot more damage than the Protoss is really prepared for. He does have the cannons defensively, so it's a bit difficult for Hack to make this push, but I think the army composition is starting to round out very nicely for San as he maxes out. Hack doesn't have any money to even produce more units now.
Yeah, he's lost so many SCVs here. And another High Templar at the south side. Oh, does get sniped off just in time. And this movement forward here, 2 High Templar already locked and loaded to go.
It's a lot of energy there. The Ghost now cloaking, getting ready to step up, looking for those money snipes. There's no observer out front to spot them. Takes out 1 Templar, 2.
Nice.
Great snipes. A fantastic pickup. This is what Hack needs to try to claw himself back in here, taking out those units that are big threats to the bio. But 4 Colossi are no laughing matter, especially now with double robo production.
Does he have enough Vikings here with this army? I mean, Hack needs a good fight. If he doesn't take a good fight, the 4th Nexus is going to kick in when probes get over there. And well, that's kind of nice. Oh, there's 3 High Templar in there. Oh, that was big.
Pickup. He looked like he could have been trying to go for a flank storm drop, but maybe doing a little bit too much here. Here comes the engagement, though. The Vikings trying to get on top of the Colossi. 1 does fall down. The rest of the army trying to pick these Vikings off. Still a good number of them remain, but the Bioforce evaporates so quickly under those lasers. 2 Colossi remain, but there's nothing left to clean up the remainder of this Protoss force.
Well, look at that. San takes a 50 supply lead. 3 Colossus out of the 4 remain. And unfortunately, as the Terran player, you say, all right, it's time to rebuild the Viking. Oh, I've got no medivacs. Oh, I don't have any Vikings. Oh, no, I'm in trouble. And a counterattack here could end the game from San.
Yeah, he's up 50, 60 supply now, bringing in those forces. He does have that pylon he's been harassing from all game long to help reinforce this. And now he's pressing in towards the 3rd base. Like you said, he doesn't have barely anything to defend this. A handful of Ghosts, that bunker, maybe a few Marines and Marauders. He's bringing all the SCVs from the natural. He's trying to hold this as hard as he possibly can, Apollo.
I don't think he's going to be able to. This is a large army. They got great upgrades. 3 Colossus just to 2 Vikings.
Nice EMP, though, does blanket a good amount of those Zealots. San being very patient, a great storm, hitting these Ghosts, weakening them. Does manage to grab the Templar, however. There's just not enough Vikings here to get the damage in. He's pushing in the Conky from the Protoss force, just shoving this back. Even the charge lots tanking perfectly. GG. And San takes game number 1 here at the Intel Extreme Masters, New York.
That's right. Congratulations to San. But now he needs to go on to win the next map, and he finds himself in the top 16 of this tournament, the main tournament, which consists of 16 players. Currently, we're in the search for 4 more here. San could be the first player of 4 to make it to that main tournament that will be played out tomorrow, and a good start for him.
Yeah, great game one, and it's one of those funny things as a Protoss player. You're playing on the big map. There's a lot of space around your base for things like drops, even things like early Reapers to come in and try to bring that pressure. But we saw how well he played. Despite getting a very late third, he wasn't harassed at all throughout the entire map, and that really played to his style. You said he wanted to play this patient macro build, and it worked out perfectly for him.
Yeah, I wonder what the real big problem with Hack was in that game. Without going through it with a toothpick, it's hard to tell. But I really think that, first of all, there may have been just classic mistakes such as supply depot drops. Or not supply depot, but supply depot cap. So he may have not had enough supply depots, maybe he wasn't aggressive enough, maybe not assertive enough, maybe spent a little bit too much money on trying to build a correct army when he could have just built a lot of stuff. I'm not too sure where it was, but the game slipped away from him after taking, well, as we saw, a good lead in the start.
Yeah, he did a few interesting things, I think, particular. Getting a lot of those early upgrades like the Blue Flame might have slowed down that medevac production, but it looks like we're in the game. We're ready to kick off match number 2 between San and Hack. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, playing now on Derelict Watcher, spawning in the top right position as the blue Protoss player. From the Taiwanese Wolf team, it is San.
Long distance zoom to San. There he is.
Looks quite comfortable. Not shaken up at all by that game, but his opponent now spawning in the bottom left position as the red Terran player from Team Startail. It is Hack, down 0-1 in this series.
And has a lot to do here. Coming into Derelict Watcher will need to win the next 2 games in a row if he wants to make it to the main part of this tournament, Stage 2. It's called here at the Intel Extreme Masters in New York City.
Trying to get up there, join the rest of those players in those groups, get a bit of that very nice prize pool here, Apollo. Now, the question I have for you is, does Hack change it up? Are we going to see him go for something completely different? San already taking a much more normally early timed gateway as compared to the map Frost.
You know, San potentially could be aggressive here. He's known for his aggressive play style, usually, if he has the opportunity to do so. I think in the last game, you know, he didn't want to be aggressive playing from a deficit in the early stages, but absolutely could play here. Blink, could be DTs, could be Proxy Stargate. There's a lot of options for him to choose from.
Yeah, there's a great amount of space at the front of that main.
Especially seeing a command center first again.
Yeah, and here comes the SCV. Now he's going to go scout. He's building it in his main this time. Won't be, I guess, quite as vulnerable to being poked by the probe. He can get reinforcements there faster, but now San coming in up that ramp immediately sees the command center. This barracks is starting. So what kind of indicators are we looking for here as this probe gets to work on the SCV that San wants to take the aggression to the next level?
A second gas and how fast that comes into play here.
Does grab an SCV.
Wow, you've got to be kidding me. A probe killing an SCV? Hack's going to be saying to himself, well, this just isn't going very well for me.
It's one of the most frustrating things that can ever happen to you as a Terran player. Now the probe just continue to do work. You know, those shields regenerate after just about 7 seconds outside of combat. He can dance around that SCV, can't quite catch up to him, and then he just brings the harass further. But there's that Nexus scouted by Hack. There's only 1 gas for San. So is it just that standard macro play? Is there any chance he goes for 2 base aggression?
I don't know. It's very difficult to call from this point. But one thing to note is that the Cyber Core was a lot later because he decided to grab a faster Nexus. So if he was trying to do something aggressive, it isn't as fast as it could be because he delayed the Cyber Core, which unlocks all the tech for him. So I really think that he may just be saying to himself, you know what? I did pretty well for myself in game number 1. I don't need to be aggressive against you if I'm confident in beating you. And that's the way he may approach this.
Yeah, and I mean, in a situation where there's that money on the line, you want to get into the group stage 2. If you're up 1-0, why risk it in that kind of situation in game 2? So the SCV is also still here, getting that scout off. Like you said, late cybernetic score means late stalker, so this SCV can just spend more and more time.
Yeah.
The mothership core coming out now, even before that begins. So what exactly does Hack do? Because he's opened up so far pretty much the same way as the last game, even going up to the 3rd barracks.
Yeah, he's just going to be playing a very normal game here and just relying on his pure skill to be able to win the game for him. He's got to be careful and, of course, to keep on scouting to find out what his opponent could be doing. Because as we see the first unit come out, which is the mothership core here, the SCV has to run and hide, and immediately we see the robotics facility thrown down. From this point, though, I think Hack's going to just play out a normal game. I mean, look, the setup he has at home. He's got 3 backs, he's got his double gas, he's going to get towards Steam, he's going to get towards his engineering factory. We may see a scan go down. I guess it depends on the success of that hidden SCV, if it's able to get in or something.
So my question now is, as far as what San did the last game, he opened up at that Stargate play that didn't do any damage. It kind of set him behind almost by delaying his tech. in a game where he goes straight for the Robo, maybe we see a Forge soon, how much more effective is that just standard macro style? I feel like he doesn't have that potential threat to keep the Terran player back at home, but is it better in that situation?
Yeah, I think he's in great shape right now. I mean, he's chosen a strategy. There's been no hiccups. Nothing's been slowed down. He's in prime position, and that is a good scan from Hack coming in, sees the robotics facility. But one thing he didn't see and doesn't see is the gases on the natural with a bit added on very fast here. And if we may see a 2-base attack come out from San. We may see a Colossus timing here, depending on where the Chrono Boost goes once he starts to save it up now. I think he's going to stop Chrono Boost into the Nexus from this point.
Yeah, choosing instead of getting a Forge for any type of upgrades, goes straight into the Robo Bay, opening up that very fast Colossus tech. Now there is a bit of a shove moving across the field for Hack. It's a couple of Marines and a Marauder. This is one of those things that's popped up more and more in Terran versus Protoss. The Observer barely catching a glimpse of it as it goes by, but he wants to bait out that Mothership Core energy perhaps, maybe even do a little bit of damage. But I think that this fast Robo, there's no sentries on the field. There's not much here to defend except that Mothership Core and the Stalker.
Well, the Mothership Core is going to have to be in good position here. The Stalker has seen it, and he's going to have to put there's no choice. You have to put the Photon Overcharge down here onto that Nexus. Hack's going to poke forward, gets a couple of hits on it, and now is activated, and these units will back off.
The Nexus Cannon doing a great job of holding him away, and now he's got 2 more gateways finishing up. That first Colossus is on the way.
Do you think we'll see the Twilight Council come down very soon?
I mean, if you don't have a Forge, if you're going to get a Twilight Council, I mean, it's mostly go for Blink, try to do some fall all in, but I don't think you have the resources for that if you're trying to pump out fast Colossi. So I kind of agree with your decision that this is most likely going to be some very heavy 2-base aggression there. We now see him moving up to 5 gateways, 6 now. This is about as much as you can support off of 2 bases, and with no upgrades, I don't think he's looking towards the late game Apollo.
Doesn't look like it for the time being, does it? And Hack yet to identify this potential threat here. As he had that scan, he saw the Robo, he saw obviously his opponent could be playing very greedy if he didn't have any units there, right? He didn't see any sentries, he only saw the Mothership Core and a Stalker, but we're actually seeing 4 gateways being put down. So Hack has a very regular setup inside his main base, but he's yet obviously to start his Viking production. Why would you start your Viking production so early on? He's so clueless. He's building a turret, which is not helpful in this point. Sure, it may help maybe when the Colossus tries to fight up there, but it's not for that reason. It's actually because he doesn't know what's going on.
It's one of those really tough situations because of the Terran. Of course, you want to open up with the 4 medevacs, get the aggression going.
Yeah.
But this timing attack that comes from San is the perfect counter to that, because if you get Vikings out that early, you don't have any healing power. The stims help your opponent at that point, and getting enough Vikings is so difficult. There, he's going for the 3rd medevac. We see the 4th medevac queue up for Hack. And he's sending out his army. It's going to be in the air. There's a scan. He still doesn't know what's coming.
He sees a gateway finishing up, but you don't really know what that means. And the army's outside the front door here. Hack is now deciding to build an additional bunker. He actually sends out Marines like, oh God, there's the army of my opponent. And he's completely out of position, trying to boost back, but he's not in time.
And this is going to be a very difficult hold. He didn't even keep an original bunker at the start of this game. There's nothing here, even a hallucinated Colossus coming in to help tank some damage. Now moving in, there's the force field, just that missile turret that not able to take out the Colossus.
This looks like we could see one of the most one-sided fights here today, unless something magical can happen, like these units coming from behind, but 3 force fields, 4 force fields do separate them off. What can Hack do?
He's got nothing. He's bringing all the SCVs from the natural, trying to get a position on this, but there's the force field, putting him into a very nice choke. Those Colossi frying everything, and Sun over double the supply of his opponent, knocking out Hack very quickly in this 2-0 fashion.
Very solid play from San. Just knew what he was going to do, did it, executed it well, and walks away with a 2-0. And he's our first player here at the Intel Extreme Masters to qualify from the open bracket into the main tournament. Great game, great series from him.
It really was, considering he kept his composure all the way throughout that first map, not able to do any early damage, and Hack kind of got away with what he wanted to do as well. But that second game, the positioning of the robotics facility, he left everything at the very beginning open. It was a fast nexus, and when you see that fast nexus, you had mentioned this earlier, it delays your tech when you delay the cybernetics core. Hack looks at it and says, okay, well maybe this is going to be that same macro style from the last map, but just a really great way to mind game him, hide that Robo Bay, and kill him with the Colossus push.
He had absolutely no idea about it. When an opponent's coming at you for some form of 2-base attack, any form of attack, if you don't know it's coming, it's almost impossible to hold sometimes. No bunkers, Viking production late, units on the other side of the map. It was just a poor setup from Hack, and he couldn't do anything about it once it finally hit.
Yeah, just really not able to make anything happen. And you kind of wonder where the few little places that he wouldn't be able to get in there and actually spot it. it's really difficult to tell. That Nexus cannon came up, he had the Marine Marauder shove. He didn't know that there were so few units. He saw the Nexus cannon. He's like, okay, I managed to pull the energy away from that. I've done a little bit of harass, but he didn't need. He wasn't looking to be defending that game. He wanted to get on the aggressive side.
And now that means that Hack has to go down to the lower bracket here in the open bracket and fight his way from there. He needs to work hard now. He could still qualify with another player, but he needs to do it from the lower bracket and he needs to play well. One more loss and he's not going to make it.
No, he will not be able to get through there, but I believe we do have our winner's interview ready here with Smix on the main stage.
Congratulations, San, over your victory over StarTales Hack. 이제 그 첫 경기에서 두 번째 경기 2대0으로 이겼잖아요. 그 경기를 하면서 이제 그냥 이걸 쉽게 이길 수 있겠다 자신 있었어요? 아니면 김영일 선수를 좀 무서워했어요?
그러니까 두 번째 경기가 스누트 선수 말씀하시는 거죠? 스누트.
아니에요. 네. 지금 방금 했던
거요? 그냥 상대 보면서 맞춰가면 그냥 이길 수 있겠다는 생각을 했어요.
So I just asked San about his mindset into going into these matches, whether he was confident or whether he thought that Hack would be, a difficult player to overcome. And he said, I honestly felt that if I just, scouted properly and adapted to what he was doing, that I would be able to do a really good job. And obviously he did. He won 2-0. 이 다음에 이제 여태까지 엄청 이제 좋은 성적은 있었잖아요. 뭐 코데스도 몇 번 나가고 뭐 이제 대회에서도 진짜 잘하는 선수도 이기고 하지만 아쉽게도 우승을 아직 못했어요. 그거에 대해서 좀 얘기해 주세요.
아직 제가 우승을 하기엔 실력이 좀 부족하고 솔직히 이번 대회도 우승할 생각으로 온 거 아니고 그냥 지기자한 생각으로 와서 부담 없이 경기할 생각이에요.
So I asked San, you've been an amazing player. You've been to Kodes so many times. You've gone to many tournaments and you've taken out, honestly, top-notch Korean players. But unfortunately, you've never been able to finish it and just actually win an entire tournament. And I asked him how he feels about that. And he says, you're right. I just think that I haven't had enough skill to actually finish it and win an entire tournament. I'm really just heading into this particular tournament with just, I'm trying to be relaxed. I'm trying to just play my game, take it easy, and hopefully through that I'll be able to show my full potential. 그 다음에 이제 여기 팬들이 많이 오셨는데 그 팬들에게만 한마디만 해주세요.
재밌는 경기 보여드릴 테니까 많은 응원 부탁드리고 좋은 성적 낼 수 있게 열심히 하겠습니다.
San's words for you fans. I'll try to show great and fun games for you guys. So please keep showing me your support. I really appreciate it. Guys, keep cheering for San. We'll see how he does in groups tomorrow. We'll see a detailed analysis of these games. Let's head over to Todd.
Thanks, Mix. Beautiful play from San here. I have to say I'm a big San fan. As a Protoss player, I really admire the way he played those games. And we're going to be taking a look at the first game. The second game was very straightforward. San basically just all in and didn't want to waste any more time playing against Hack. He wanted to finish him quickly and it just worked out perfectly for him. But in the first game, a lot happened. In the start of the game, San went for a Stargate and then I'm not sure if this was a mistake. He went for a Void Ray, which he then later on cancelled, went for the Oracle. There was a few exchanges, but nothing too important. Both players took a third base and San, he went into Templars and Zealots. Now, there was a very tiny timing that he could hit to try and do some damage, but he chose not to go for it because he saw his opponent had some ghosts and he didn't want to commit too much to it. So he took a third base, and from there, he teched into Colossus to counter those ghosts he was going to face later on. So after some small Zealot run by, some small storms onto his opponent's army, Hack decides to move out before his opponent can get too comfortable on 4 bases. So if we pause right here, we can look at what composition Hack has across the map right now. He's not maxed out. San is pretty much maxed out. I mean, he even has the money to make a little bit more. 122 army supply for San, 132 for Hack somehow, just because he had this fewer walkers. But I think this is not the entirety of the army of Hack. He has some units across the map, marching across the map right now as well. And the most important thing here is the upgrades and the composition. So let's take a look at the upgrades. We have 3-2 for the bioforces of a Hack, and I think no upgrades for his Vikings. Whereas San, he's 3-2 right now. He's got the level 1 shield, he's got charge, he's got storm, he's got the thermal lance. And the very important thing here is the Colossus count. There is 5 Colossi against just a very few Vikings. And I think there was even more Colossus on the way just before this fight started. San, at this point, he was assembling the perfect army to take on what his opponent had. Can we see the production tab? I think, okay, Blink was started. And at this point, when you have this many Colossus, if you get about 10 Stalkers, you're going to be able to blink just right below the Vikings of your opponent and take them out very, very quickly. So then the Colossus go uncontested against the huge Bioforce of your opponent. So at this point, Hack is attacking the Force, and San, very smartly so, he wants to take the fight in a good position. So he lets him attack into this base. And then he's going to come from behind with his entire army. He uses the Guardian Shield. He's going to blink. Well, actually, he doesn't need to blink at this point. He's just targeting on the Vikings and the Zealots. They're just going to do so much damage. Hack never really had a chance to EMP too well this army, so San was able to dispose of everything that was there quite convincingly, even save the Colossus here. And after a win like this, he just finds himself 50 to 60 supply ahead, and he's just over from there. It was a beautiful hold. He let his opponent attack the Nexus, flank from behind, and that worked out perfectly for him. So very, very well played here by San. He's going to be able to take Hack and qualify for the group stage. That's it for the analysis. I think this was one of the most impressive games I've seen so far in this tournament. I'm looking forward to seeing more, but first, let's go over to Red Eye.
Yes, thank you very much, Todd. One player has gone through to the round of 16, which will take place tomorrow. We have all 4 groups taking place tomorrow as well. We'll have some on the following day, too, through the group stage. And then at the weekend, we'll also go into the playoffs and the grand finals. But that man is already a place in the last 16. We'll find out in our next game who else can make it through. It's going to be an absolute cracker. It's Life versus Dawn Regu. That's coming up right after this. We're going to take a very quick break, but don't forget, you can still interact with us via social media, all the usual channels, facebook.com and on Twitter as well. And make sure you use the hashtag #IEM. Stop waving down there in the front row. I can see you. The rowdy crowd. We're fantastic to be back here in New York again. It's been a big 2-year gap since we've last been here, so we appreciate you guys coming out at Comic-Con and cheering for the players. So whenever you see them come out, make sure you give them a good old New York roar. Like that. Like that. That's good. Yeah, that's really good. They're warming up. It's all good. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, it will be our second final to find out who goes through to the round of 16.